the final session just before the Q&A is by Rasheed Ijaodola, and I will just quickly go through Rashid's profile. Rasheed, known as ABI, is a corporate associate in Greenberg Torrig's New York office. Rashid holds two Masters of Law degrees, including an LLM in Law, Science and Technology from Stanford. And Rashid will be speaking about the A to Z of applying to, Stanford and US Masters, as well as priming yourself for postgraduate opportunities. So if you can, please give a warm welcome to Rashid in the chat. Rashid, if you're on, please, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Sage. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and yeah, I can see you as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great. If you don't mind sharing the screen, the slides is very short.
yeah,
I would, but the benefit of coming last is all these great speakers have spoken in depth about a lot of things I will talk about in the first part of my presentation. So that's very helpful, but we are also pressed for time, so I'll move to this very quickly. Uh, my presentation is largely going to be in two parts. Part one is about application, Stanford, a little bit specific about that, but also generally about US. And the second part is during the program, after the program, how do you present yourself for opportunities? Like essentially, many of us use these postgraduate students for as a transition phase, postgraduate studies rather, as a transition phase to get an opportunity in this jurisdiction. So I'll spend some time talking about that. Stage whenever you're ready.
yeah. It should come up shortly. Just it takes some time for the old slides to go away. Okay, so I think we
Okay,
should be fine now. Yeah,
great.
yeah, there we go.
Next slide.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Great. Here is basically about just the strategy and timing. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, just given how much we've said with other speakers. But the first point here is applying early, and there are two prongs to applying early. The first prong is if you know that you want to restart your career outside Nigeria, like I want to go outside and restart my career essentially. And so some people have this mentality of like, oh, I gotta do 4 years, I gotta do 5 years, I gotta do 6 years of experience in Nigeria before I go out. If you know you're gonna go out, especially if you're gonna come to the US, you are very likely to restart afresh as the first year. So the earlier you come, the better. Of course, you don't want to come right after law school. I mean, you can, but it just becomes more difficult to find a job because you don't have an experience to leverage. But having 2 to 3 years of experience are typically enough to, it doesn't like, the point is having 3 years or 4 years, like that 1 year doesn't basically make a significant difference unless there are some incredible things you want to do in that 1 year that you think may stand you out very separately from what you would have done in the last 3 years. But after 2 to 3 years, you're typically well situated to actually make that jump. So apply early in terms of like what stage you are in your career, but also the timing of your application itself. Like when you're doing your application, you're doing it like the previous year for the next year's admission cycle. So and most admission cycles actually open up around fall, but you don't want to wait till November. I think Sid mentioned this earlier in the day, but you want to start around July, and I'll tell you particularly what I mean. Why you should start extremely early. So apply early in terms of the stage you are in your career and the timing during the year. I'm going to talk more about the second part as we move on. Then a lot of people have talking about researching the school. Like if you reach out, many people reach out to me and say, "Can you advise me not to advise to Stanford?" If I don't see that you've done your research, that doesn't help anybody. Like you can't be asking me, "What do I need to apply?" Like go check it on the website. I'm not going to talk to you about that. So spend time looking at the school, looking at the requirements, and thankfully we now have AI. Just pull it up into ChatGPT or Claude and say, "I want to apply to these 10 schools, prepare me a chart, give me an Excel sheet of each of these programs and all the requirements I need, including what statements I need to write, what is the deadline, what are the lengths." And in 5 minutes, you have something that would have taken you hours to research prior to now. So spend the time doing your own research, reach out to alums. To ask them very targeted questions that you ordinarily not be able to find on the website because you don't want to wait, take their time and your time as well, talking about what you can find on the website. Next thing, and this is very particular to the US, if you're applying to US schools, you have to submit your application through the LSAC process. I think only some schools like Harvard, for example, you can do direct, and some other schools you can do direct. But I say 90% of the schools, you have to go through the LSAC. LSAC takes time because you have to send your package to them. They will review your application and then tell you are good to submit to the schools. So LSAC is a separate process and separate fees. And because it takes a lot of time, sometimes it takes them months to receive your documents and review them, and you can't submit without LSAC. So like I lost out on the scholarship just because of my LSAC timing. And I know many people that have lost out on that because of LSAC time. People just focus on, oh, this is the school's deadline and never think about LSAC. So LSAC, even if you start LSAC in February, it's not too early because you're gonna need it anyway. So just get the LSAC out of the way. Register for LSAC, fill all your schools, and send the documents to them, both your university and law school. If you send it to them, let them process it over the next couple of years and be done with that. Once they're done with that, you can focus on the things you can control, which are the things you have to write. But like LSAC is not within your control. So get like start even June is like start with June, July, August, September. You know LSAC is done before you start focusing on the school. Then experience over grades for in the US, so kind of like a nice mix. In UK, they are very academic. They focus a lot on your academics. Like, for example, Oxford needs a first class. I think even Cambridge as well. I did both US and UK schools. I did Oxford, Cambridge, and LSE in the UK, and then I did Harvard, Stanford, and NYU in the US. So UK schools focus a lot on academics, US schools focus a lot on experience. And so when you're writing your statements, you gotta know what school you're applying to, what jurisdiction, and what to prioritize in your when you highlight your strength. Like US schools want to see what you have done, which is that like for most top US schools, they advise you to have 2 years of experience before you apply, because they want to see what you have done. So they focus a lot on experience, on like what you have done as a person in the industry as against just hire the first class. Like that is typically not enough for them by itself. And longer statements allowed. I'm going to talk more about this in the next slide. Say the next slide, please. So more on the application itself, because you're going to be doing, and this is still on strategy, right? You're going to be doing a bunch of applications here and there. I typically find it helpful to start with the longer ones. Like US schools like Harvard, like Stanford, some other NYU as well. Like Stanford is one that I found the longest. They allow you to write a longer statement. Like Stanford allows you up to 2 to 3 pages of personal statement. So you have to really sell your story and write it in a more reasonable way. Oxford, for example, wants 500 words. So I typically like to start with the longer ones, right? Like I write the proper long statement that I pour out everything I want to pour out and I structure that I want to structure it. And then I can compress that as needed for whatever schools requires a shorter statement. So that's something you can think about. Now, work backwards. This is something that really helped me and I've given as advice to many people that have applied over the years is I know that I want to apply to Stanford this year, right? I know that there are many things I want to use to improve my profile before I apply. But I don't know, like, do I think about it is I go research the program, I look at the specific program I want to apply to, I speak to alums. I generally just look at the whole picture of this is the perfect program for me to apply to. Now, I then ask myself a question like, with my background, like working in Nigeria, if I was on the admissions committee, what is the perfect profile to see of from someone in this nature to get this role, to get this admission? What is the perfect profile? So I think about that perfect profile is, and I write the statement. Like assuming like a fictional perfect profile. I write that statement. Okay, this is what a perfect profile is, and then I walk backwards. So I spend the rest of the year trying to get whatever is missing from my profile to get me up to that level that I have thought about. So like when I was doing Stanford and I wanted to do my program in LST, that's Law, Science, and Technology, but I had done some IP related work. I was mostly doing some litigation, but I wanted to do more of that. So I wrote a profile. And then what was missing for me, I needed to write some articles, I needed to attend some tech conferences, I needed to do more tech related work. So I started to do some of that within my firm. I attended a bunch of like 34 conferences in Lagos and Abuja that were related to tech. I took some online classes. So I started to build the story because I knew what a perfect application looked like. So start early, work backwards from what you think is a strong application, work backwards from it. Then another thing to think about, which is point three here, is that you are so as an admissions on the admissions committee, right? Yes, that they review your application. Everything you have submitted from your personal statement to your resume to all the other statements they ask for to everything, even sometimes including your reference report as well. It comes to the reviewer as one document. That is one PDF. So it's page flipping. Okay, this is the resume. and this is a personal statement, and this is a reference report. So you gotta stop thinking about your application as personal statement is one document on its own, resume is one on its own. No, think of everything you're submitting as one package because the person is going to look at it within 5 minutes at the same time. So you want to find a way to highlight different parts of the application in different ways. So if your resume is very heavy on your academics, let your statement be heavy on experience and your dreams and what and the plans and what you want to do. Let your let your reference report talk about different parts because it's a whole like it's one application. So remember that person that's reviewing is going to look at everything at once, just like two, 3 pages of documents within 5 minutes. So don't be repetitive. If you've highlighted academics too much in the resume, tone it down in personal statement. Otherwise, it's gonna feel repetitive when the person is reading it. Oh, I just read about his excellent academic criteria. Now I'm reading his statement, the same thing. I'm reading his reference, the same thing. Like you have to find a way to highlight different parts and make it like a one whole application. The next point is control your references. Like I know I don't know whether I should be saying this, I shouldn't be saying this, right? And of course, you want your referees to write what they want to write, but many of them are extremely busy. They're just going to write, oh, this is a very smart guy, things like that. You got to find people that are very thoughtful, but also like what I like to do, and what I kind of like, I think about like, oh, this person that I've worked with or this person that taught me in school, what would they typically say about me? I mean, I jump on a call with them, I have a conversation with them, like, oh, what do they typically think? And then I do like a rough structured draft that I send to them, and then they finalize and submit what they make edits, and I either want to do it, but like it just helps to kind of like think about like give them the opportunity to write what they want to write because otherwise they're busy and they're just gonna give you something very generic. So you want to even if it's not you writing the draft, jump on a call with them. You can talk through your resume, like remind them of some of the things you did back when they taught you in school. Like just put them in a position where they can help you best. The next thing is funding. I'm not going to spend too much about time about funding. A lot of people have spoken about it, but do your research, find internal and external scholarships, and there's some affiliated ones like Stanford, for example. They don't fund the LLM. You got to find your own money. There are some external programs like Knight NSE I can get funding for. You have the Black Hat, you have internal. So that's that on application. Let's go to fundraising. Next slide. Oh yeah, so finding a job in the US. I think someone spoke about this. I'm just gonna go very quickly into this point. Is one thing you have to remember for as a LLM finding a job in the US is that you are off cycle, right? The law firms hire like 2 years ahead of time. They do the summer program, they hire 2 years ahead of time. So you are off cycle. You have to find someone to take a chance on you. So having understood that what you need to find is someone to take a chance on you, how do you maximize the opportunity? The first one is cold emails, right? And LinkedIn there's something that we call informational interviews in the US. So I did about 1,600 cold emails within the 9 months that I was at Stanford until I found an opportunity. So take a list of like the top 100 law firms, take a list of two partners per practice area that you're interested in, two partners per office. So New York, DC, California, Boston, Chicago, all the major cities. Then send out information interview emails, right? You want to send out emails and you're not asking for a job. You're not saying, oh, hi, I need the job. It's, oh, hi, this is who I am. I'm doing my LLM here. Prior to now, I spent 3 years doing M&A in Nigeria, and I would like to talk to you about practicing in the US. So seek their advice, ask for 15 minutes. When you talk to them, you introduce yourself to them. You gotta maintain that relationship. That's the information interviews work, and that's what I did. That's what got me a job eventually. But like you gotta keep doing it. But don't ask for a job. Just ask to speak to them. They're familiar with that process. Then second is in person. Like if you're in the city, like wherever you are, like when you find law firms that are local to where you are studying and try and meet them in person because the magic happens in person. Like a lot of you can do Zoom calls, but like if you have the opportunity to meet someone in person, take it every time. Then in relationships as well, like you gotta reach out to people who have done this role. Like in my firm now that I've joined, I have about 6 other Nigerians that have joined through me in the last 2, 3 years. Just reach out to people who are inside, who have broken into it, and through that relationship, you can find an opportunity as well. So then also find affinities, right? Like what are the affinities? I find people that are schooling, like the alums of the school you're schooling, people that are from your country. Like the first thing I do when I go to a law firm's website and I want to find who to reach out to, I filter for schools, like who went to Stanford. It helps me that, okay, I'm going to start with this set of people because they went to Stanford, right? I find is there a Nigerian? Yeah, I look for it, things like that. So find affinities, they help you to relate better. Then don't, I think in your first reach, I try many things. Some people attach my resume, but a rule of thumb is in your first reach out, don't attach your resume unless they ask for it. I mean, in follow-ups, you can then attach and say, oh, here is it, if helpful. But once you attach your resume, they know you're looking for a job. There are a billion emails like that. they just forward it to HR. HR doesn't is not gonna do anything in this kind of situation. One thing to note is that in your cold emails, your first paragraph, feel free to sell yourself a little bit, but like not in a braggadocious kind of way, in like a humble kind of way. Like if we were going to a top school, call it out. Like call it out. Like my boss told me that the reason why he responded to my email was that he saw that I said I was second best in a class of 3,000 in Nigeria, right? And then he saw Stanford. So those things help. So your first paragraph, you want to call out some of those things that can help you. Next slide. Yeah, and this is a light slide. And so just something. This is more about like positioning yourself for a better opportunity. Like we just spoke about immigration and visas. You have 1 year of OPT as an LLM student. You want to think about what happens after. A firm can take a chance and file for H-1B for you, but there's no guarantee that you're gonna get it because it's a lottery. I went to H-1B twice, I didn't get it. So the moment you come in, start thinking about like EB1, EB2. How can you solve your immigration? Start thinking about it. Talk to people who have done it. I did the EB1 and eventually got my green card through that. Then you should very important thing, this is the last thing I tell you, is that your practice in Nigeria is very different from your practice in the US. We are generalists in Nigeria, whether we like it or not. You could say, oh, I'm an M&A person, I'm a corporate person. You're still a generalist. In the US, we're very specific in the practice area. So what problem that I've seen over the years and that I had as well is that people find it extremely difficult to express what they really do. So you say, oh, I do finance, I do M&A, I do capital markets. When you're speaking to a US partner, you have just told him five different things. Like, no, because people are very specific. You have to have different resumes for who you're reaching out to. Have an M&A resume, have a capital market resume, have a finance resume, have a VC resume. Depending on who you're reaching out to and what team, you gotta understand what that person's practice is. Like if you come to me, I do private M&A and tell me, oh, like I did all this public M&A, public M&A. Even it is still M&A, but like I can't help you because I don't do public M&A, I do private M&A. And if you start talking about finance or capital markets, it's flying past me because I don't do that. That's not my practice area. So you gotta be able to express your experience in a way that they can relate to because they don't understand. They can't fathom how possible it is for one person to do VC and do capital markets and do finance and do M&A at the same time. But some of us do that in Nigeria. That's how it works. But like they can't understand because it doesn't make sense to them. That's not how they're set up. So you gotta find what their practice area is and speak their language. Then I'm not gonna leverage your professors, right? Like many of your professors have relationships. So even if you don't talk in class, go to the office hours, introduce yourself, find that relationship, build it over the years, over the next couple months when you join. And when you start looking for your job, tell them if you have any introductions. I know many people that got jobs through that. Then write the bar exam, do your MPRE, all of that. So that's really all I have to say. If you I try to punch everything into like punchlines, so it helps you remember what the point is. But yeah, I that is just what I have to share with you.
Thank you so much, Rashid. What a way to conclude. I think it was, uh, you know, using those bullet points actually really focuses people's minds. And like I said, we should be, sharing the slides around for people to have like reference materials. I know the time is far spent, and the final segment is Q&A. We'll still manage to retain in like most of the audience since the start of the session, which is a good sign. If people have any questions, now will be the time to post them. I know that there are two questions, and yes, people, please feel free to show your appreciation to the speakers. I think everyone is managed to cram a lot of value into their 15 minutes, so and that can be easy, so I really appreciate it, and also taking our time on the weekend when they rather